Hey guys, Buckeye Bar guys. We wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to us here on Buckeye Bar Talk. Great show we got coming up today. We're really looking forward to you guys listening and watching it. But just wanted to remind everybody, just remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the all notifications bell, so that way anytime a new show comes up, you guys will be alerted to it. And don't forget to like the video and comment on the video. All interactions with us helps us continue to grow, and we appreciate your support. Now to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Buckeye Bar Guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
Today's date is August. Feels like definitely doesn't feel like August. Feels like December,
Yeah.
but September 23rd on a beautiful, cold ass Thursday night here in Northeast Ohio.
It feels like fall.
yeah,
It feels like football weather out there.
Yeah, out of nowhere, it just goes from like, hey, we're gonna drop 20 something degrees in one day, and we'll get you this. It's like, I was like this morning, I'm like, it feels like winter. It's like, no, it's not winter. It's not even close to winter.
Hey, but you can make chili in this weather. Like before, it was too hot to make any chili. So I like chili during football season. I'm happy for it.
Yeah, it seems like the next several days we'll be going back up into the 70s, but it's right around the corner. It'll be chilly time for one of these games. All right, so Buckeyes they won last week against Tulsa. 41. What was Tulsa's score? I can't think of it now.
20, right? 40-20, 41-20. Yeah, that sounds right.
I mean, we were definitely watching the game. I mean, it's just been a while now since we got to record to talk about it. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Just wanted to start off the news. So we found out today that they are going to rest CJ Stroud for this coming week, and so it's between Mccord and Miller, but it sounds like McCord's going to be the first one off the bench, and so McCord is going to get his shot. So will be interesting day on the Twitter between the Buckeye fans, because it is Akron. People have to remember that, and like, we can't just necessarily judge stuff that we're seeing when we're not seeing and things. You'll have half the fan base that are going to love it, and the other half fan base that will love it if he does well, and then we'll get mad if he doesn't do well. And then you'll have a percentage of the fan base that if he looks, okay, that, we're doomed, that we're going to lose 4 more games this year. So we'll get a good mixture of how people feel with this one. So what do you think, just off the top of your head, about like I said, it's going to be Mccord and Miller. That's what they said. But sounds like Mccord will be the first one in.
So, I mean, if I've always had the thoughts on this, and what you said about like QB controversy. I mean, there's so many different scenarios. Like, he could look like crap, but it could be better crap than what CJ Stroud looked like, even though CJ Stroud hasn't looked bad. McCord, he could be great, but then the CJ Stroud people, they could say that he doesn't look as good as CJ Stroud did when Stroud looks his best. So there's a lot of different things that we could run into with this. Me personally, my thought process has always been from the beginning, like, because people said, you got to start Ewers, or, well, Ewers hasn't been here. And I'm talking about when Ewers came in. Ewers hasn't been here. You got to start Stroud. Like, Stroud's been the man. Like, Stroud's been here for 1 year, hasn't thrown a college pass going into this season. You owe the man really no loyalty if he's not the best quarterback, the best option for you. With that being said, though, I mean, obviously he's won that job in practice. Mm-hmm. So if Kyle McCord goes out, lights everyone up, you got to remember, it is Akron. If it looks like it runs your offense better, and if it looks like there's not going to be any drop off, though, that definitely gives Ryan Day some confidence if Stroud is struggling, or if this shoulder issue does linger into another week, or going into, maybe Indiana. Like, maybe, if McCord plays a couple games and the shoulder's still not 100%, you feel a hell of a lot more confident starting someone that's looked good in, kind of like 3 tune-up games, which who knows how much of tune-up games Rutgers and Maryland really are anymore, than you would if the guy still hasn't thrown a pass. Like, you are more confident going into Indiana and Penn State now, giving McCord a chance. So I like it. I don't think that it's going to be like long-term implications. Like CJ Stroud loses his job after this week, but it makes the whole situation, I think, for Ryan Day possibly easier. I don't know if it makes it easier for CJ Stroud, because if McCord comes out and looks great, he might start pressing some things. But
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Uh,
It's good for the team though. Those guys need to be able to throw the ball in live game action.
yeah. Yeah, and I agree with that. We've had so many issues with the defense over the last couple of years that we haven't really gotten a chance. I mean, we had more opportunities to see Chugs and Gunner against, 2 years ago than we've seen. I mean, Stroud and Miller both should have played last year to the point that they both threw passes. And, we got up in a lot of games that, we gave back points and, between it being the shortened season and, just that, the defense having holes that, Ryan Day just never felt comfortable giving any opportunities. And then this year, outside of really the first game against Minnesota where we started pulling away, I mean, they kept in it a little bit in the second half, but, they pulled away. I mean, we pulled away for the most part, I would say. We definitely took control of the game in the second half. Obviously didn't have any opportunities against Oregon. And, last week, there was a spot in the game where it seemed like we were going to pull away, and then, they came kind of back a little, and then, then we pulled away at the end. And so I don't know that I think I think it's a good thing. I mean, first of all, against Akron, if he needs to if CJ Stroud is the guy they want to go with forward, and possibly even next week against Rutgers, you have maybe to consider if he needs the rest, he needs the rest. I mean, you can't keep force feeding him out there if he's just not right. And I mean, you don't want to end up really injuring the kid neither. So, you have competent backups. I mean, this is the best quarterback, recruiting classes you've had. I mean, nobody in the country on paper arguably has a better quarterback room than you. So like, you got to let them play to the point. So this is at least an opportunity. Now, it does create a possible quarterback controversy if McCord lights it up. But the risk is going to have to come with that, risk and rewards and all that stuff is that, you take that risk and, it could put a lot of pressure on a lot of people, because if McCord comes out, lights it up this week, possibly plays next week against Rutgers and looks really good too, and then you go back to Stroud because then Stroud feels good and he doesn't look as great, and then you got the fan base upset, and then you got to make a decision like, am I going to McCord now for the rest of the year, or if Stroud does look really good and then you say that it was definitely just an arm injury but now you showcase what McCord looks like, and people are going to be looking for him and from around the country, and he becomes a very hot commodity then at that point. So I mean, there's a lot of risks to this, but at the same time, you have to do it if Stroud can't,
right?
If he's not healthy enough to complete passes, and every time he throws passes, he's doing his shoulder windups and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm assuming unless he's trying to, we don't know anything to the kid that would say that, he's just trying to play it off be an injury. So if they're saying he's hurt and he's looking like he's hurt, then he's hurt and he's got to, let's see what one of these other kids can do healthy.
Yeah, I agree with that. And honestly, I mean, from any of these guys here on out, I know everyone, they came to Ohio State, they want to play at Ohio State, they want to learn under Ryan Day. But Jack Miller, if he gets in on Saturday, he's got to make the most of his opportunity, because he's going to want to play college football next year. Kyle McCord wants to play college football next year. CJ Stroud wants to continue to play college football, for the Buckeyes, but is going to want to play college football next year. So all these guys here on out, I mean, it's just too loaded of a room to think that everyone, makes it through their career as a Buckeye. So everyone's got to do what they can with the opportunities that they have. So they're the guy next year somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely definitely agree with that. And it's the new it's new college football. And I mean it's weird for everybody right now how all this goes. I mean, we always knew that there could be some hangups in this. I mean, if you were intelligent to yourself, you knew with this room that this was the one room where there could be some serious hangups. And because I mean, they're literally, you can only play one. And and two quarterback systems don't work. And that was the only thing and that's the other thing that kind of gets me nervous. I just hopefully, Ryan Day is a very smart quarterback guy, so I don't think he will do this. I just, if McCord lights it up this week, and if he decides he wants to give McCord another shot next week just to see, maybe against a better defense, then that's fine. Let's not be going into, rotating quarterbacks, and, let's give them both opportunities. And, one plays one quarter or maybe 3 series, and the next one plays the next 3 series. I mean, stuff like that, because you always get guys then really looking behind your shoulders. And it'll be bad enough if McCord looks good, and then you go back to Stroud, and, Stroud will already be looking back behind his shoulders, but behind him. But if you are now trying to play both of them in the same game every week until one of them separates, then it's really not gonna, that won't work out.
No, and that's not an ideal situation for the team. You definitely want to have some sort of like consistency and know who your starter is.
Yeah. Yep. So it'll be nice to see him. God, I wish this game was earlier in the day.
But at least
I hate
that kind of adds a little bit of intrigue back into the game, though, at least, right?
Yeah. Like, I just hate when they play like I don't hate night game. I just want to make that clear. But like, I want to play Oregon at, like, I don't want to play Akron at night. I'm fine with Akron being a noon game on BTN. Like, and I get it. It's BTN's premier game, and they get a non-conference game and they get a conference game, and we're going to be on BTN 2 weeks in a row. And so, like,
right.
But even 3:30, I don't get why they can just like, hey, 3:30. I mean, who wants to go? I mean, God, last week and it stinks we can't really get into the show, because I mean, there's just so much to talk about. But maybe in a bye week we'll kind of bring it up, especially if the attendance numbers don't really start evening out. But I mean, when you only get 70 something thousand people there, and then I can't imagine it's going to be any different this week, because I mean, I just don't see a lot of people really wanting to go down there, for a 7:30 game against Akron.
No, I completely agree with that. I don't.
And maybe because it's a later game, maybe that they will get into the 90s, but I mean, it's still not going to be a sold out game. And I don't think it'll be close, though. Probably be 10 to 15 off. I mean, I hope it's not as much as 20 something as it was last week, but
that was bad.
All right, before again, and just before we get into Tulsa, just another kind of the big thing that happened this week is Dallas Gant went into the transfer portal. I mean, it's an interesting thing. It wasn't surprising. I mean, I'm starting to get used to I think if this would have happened a couple years ago, I saw a couple of the reporters say they were a little surprised because he stuck so much with the program. But, last year was a free year, and, he could get, I think he hasn't redshirted. So I think he can get, basically this counts as if he can get through to another school that, this is then a redshirt year. So he has 2 years left of eligibility. I mean, so it makes sense. I mean, anymore, none of these are going to surprise me, just because, and we'll probably have to really start talking about transfers probably into the off season, because I think going forward, it probably needs to be some sort of, might need to be some sort of, strategy for even the coaching staff that, maybe you don't recruit as many as you do, because you want to keep some open spots, because there's some good guys. I mean, Dallas Gant will be somebody that can go play somewhere, and there's big names that get put on these teams at different spots. So I mean, there are going to be opportunities for pickup players, with a year or two left on the ability to play.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back and like not even really that long ago, probably within the last even decade, when somebody would leave Ohio State, they would leave to go to a MAC school or an FCS school or something because they couldn't cut it. Maybe they were overrated coming in. Maybe they have homesick, trouble with school, whatever it may be, and they had to kind of get their head straight. But now, I mean, we saw with like Jameson Williams, and like Mookie Cooper and these guys, Gant could end up somewhere next year,
Did you see? I'm sorry to change the subject,
fine.
but did you see what Lane said?
No, what do you say?
He said because they're playing Bama this week, he's like, well, they go out and they go get Jameson Williams, so not only are they the best draft, they draft the best, but now they're getting the best free agents too.
Man. Yeah.
I laughed out loud when I saw that on Twitter.
That was a good one. I mean, that was a good pickup for them for sure. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, Gant though he could really be somewhere. I mean, that sticking around this long, I was a little surprised by the timing of this right in the middle of the season like that. But you got to get somewhere. You got to know where you're going. You got to start studying the playbook right away because he wants to make an impact at the very beginning of next year. I mean,
yeah.
at this point, the guy's played, no meaningful real snaps in a college football game for 3 years. So he is in no way on any trajectory to get drafted. So he has to try to change that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that will be kind of maybe of a bye week talk. I do want to get more into like just the thoughts of going forward in college football of the future to the 2020s here is, do coaches really do need to start kind of considering that maybe in the back of their head, I mean, I know in Ohio State, they recruit the best of the best. And when you're coming down to it, you're pulling a 4 or 5 star kid. But I mean, look, Pallier was a 5-star kid. So, do you keep maybe a couple more spots open than normal just because you're like, well, if I can get a couple kids that are, juniors and, juniors or even sophomores, with the, they can just move, freely one time now, is that's more of a ready to play player than, a freshman. So,
Right.
does that is that a thought now that like, hey, if I can get a couple of those guys, then, is that better than recruiting 2 5-star kids, that might not be ready to play next year, or this 5-star kid or even a 4-star kid that, was highly ranked 2 years ago. Well, he is going to be ready to play. He actually played some at his old school and, he's at least been in a major college football program or a good college football program. And, so he's went through some legitimate weightlifting and stuff like that. And so I don't know. We'll get more into that in the coming weeks because it's something I kind of want to break down because I think a lot of schools are going to start really thinking about that. And that's where when you don't think about it, like these transfer rules, the schools like Indiana and, Rutgers, they've always kind of, they've always been the kind of schools where you could get transfers to go to, but that might even be with guys like, the coaches that they got there that, that might even be more of a strategy now. Like, I could actually go out and beat Ohio State because, yeah, they'll recruit better than me, but I can go get legitimate players now in the transfer portal.
Yeah, guys that possibly have played or gone through strength programs for a couple of years.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. We'll get more into that. All right. So Tulsa. Now, what I want to say about Tulsa is that I did say it was going to be very, very hard to judge this game because there was it's Tulsa. So it's like, how much improved is improved. And, so I won't lie. At the end of the game, I'm like, yeah, I didn't see anything that I liked and that, there's still a lot that I don't like, but now that I've had a couple of days to kind of sit on it and think about it, that I saw some of the changes that they were trying to make, and it is going to take some time and some of the stuff, and they got to get Eichenburg out of there. Like that's a big one. But like, I'm not as upset with it. And I'm more upset with what I saw on offense, I think, than even what I saw on defense. There's some players coming off on the defense now that are starting to kind of separate themselves, that now I think these kids really need playing time, and the rotations kind of need to stop with them. That you know, I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Cody Simon and from Denzel Burke and even JTT, and I'm just like,
I'm very impressed with JTT.
Like, to me, he should be the second or third guy possibly. I'm not going to say he should be starting yet, but I think he's the third defensive end, and and he should be in there on every rushman package, and he's starting to make plays, and like,
yeah, and like Tyleek Williams looked really impressive. I know it's against Tulsa, but you need that. I mean, it's very apparent that they need a real nose tackle. They need a real one technique. So, I mean, and I know like Jaron Cage is starting to get healthy, and Jackson has looked okay, but Haskell, Garrett, and Vincent, they don't belong in the one tech.
Yeah. No, I think what I saw from Malik Williams is like, I would almost be okay. This is Akron. Like, start him against Akron at nose, and you rotate Vincent and Haskell Garrett at the 3, and then you find whoever your next best nose guy is. That's who you rotate in. Like, I would play him as a lot more, like because I mean, some of these freshmen are really coming alive, and like, let them play, because not only do they seem like they are definitely going to produce now, but that's like, you're now getting 3 full years out of them. So like,
right. And I mean, it seemed like, and I know, I'm sure there's film out there that shows he probably was out of position, but Kayvon Pope, it seemed like, he still had a nose for the ball when he was in there. He has to play more. What Neote Ote has a great stop down by the goal line, and then I don't know if I saw him the rest of the game.
Yeah,
their rotations just like, it's like I said it before, it's like Little League baseball or like hockey lines. Like, you can't do that with your defense. I mean,
except with Eichenburg, who's like playing 50 snaps, like,
and getting 0 tackles. Right. I mean, you kind of have to, I guess, when you're on the field for 16 plays. Like, they got to learn how to get off the field, but you can't. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a defense like that.
Yeah. I'm still not liking what I'm seeing with the safeties. I think they just got to go to I mean, we talked about this last week. They need to go to a pure 2 safety look, go to a cover 2, and then just whoever that other guy needs to be that 5th guy, whether it's the bullet or whether it's a cover corner when you're in passing downs, then that's got to be what it's got to be. I mean, they're still getting. I mean, Bryson Shaw, I mean, if he's going to stay in the game, if they're going to let him play, he needs to have somebody back there with him, because he can't he's not a home run cover guy.
Well, he just can't be the last line of defense right now.
Yeah. And so put 2 of them back there, run a little bit more zone, which they did. But it'd be better with the 2 covered court safeties.
Yeah, and I think Cameron Martinez and Lathan Ransom have shown that they deserve a lot of playing time. Them and Hickman, they need to be on the field.
Exactly. They need to be on the field. Cam Brown and I mean, I know 7 got in there some, but
Seven
the 2 best. He looked good, and but I mean, right now the 2 best corners look like it's Burke and Cam Brown, and still nobody's challenged us on the outside. So like, every week that we go by, I'm like, it's like I'm getting more and more confident about what our outside is. I mean, I think once we get through Indiana, Penn State, that's where we're going to really know what those 2 are, because they're going to have guys that can. I mean, granted, Penn State doesn't necessarily have a quarterback, but I mean, he did beat Auburn this weekend. But that I can't think of his name. That number 5 for Penn State. It's always a number 5.
Yes, Dotson. Yes, he was the guy that made the great play on Sean Wade.
Yeah, I remember that. But so, and Penix loves to throw it, and he's got some good outside receivers there. So I think once we get past those 2 games, we will know for sure what our 2 outside corners or 3 outside corners really look like. But I'm really impressed with Denzel Burke right now, and it's like, I mean, it's like it's watching his name brother up in Cleveland. He's starting to When you shared that with me earlier, that's like, man, that's exactly what I would think. And he does jaw a little bit more, but he does. That's who kind of was thinking. It's just like they can't get anything through him, and like now he's starting to like kind of turn around, and he's starting to really pick up the whole thing, and he's seeing where
that was an interception.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started on that one. I mean, when the ball is moving out of the guy's hand, like literally, if Burke didn't pull that in, it would have landed on the ground,
and they would have called it incomplete.
And it would have been an incomplete pass. So it's only an incomplete it's an interception. Like there's no catch there.
I know.
Yeah.
But like I said, though, I mean, I just think, and I know that, they got their, like the cover safety and the slot cornerbacks that they have, and I want to see like more of Craig Young, obviously. And Ryan Watts, they talked about him as that high safety. I'd love to see him get a shot at it, but right now, I mean, from what I saw against Tulsa, I know they're not the best competition, but Cameron Martinez was close to the ball several times. So he obviously, can kind of figure out where he's supposed to be. Lathan Ransom knows where he's supposed to be. And Ronnie Hickman, again, he made a couple mistakes, but more than not, he was close to the ball. So those guys have earned the right to be on the field more. Just like I would say Tyleek Williams earned the right last week to be on the field. Just like I would say JTT earned the right to be on the field. And then, I mean, the rest of them still, rotations are screwed with them.
Some of these guys are making young player mistakes. And that's the thing. At this point now, I'm starting to see the guys that should be out there and the guys shouldn't be out there. And the guys that should be out there, unless there's injuries, they need to play now. And because they will start self-correcting those young player mistakes just because they see it more.
Right,
and, and they're getting used to things. And like some of these things that some of the guys running free and stuff like that. Yeah. Some of it's bad coaching and some of it's, them not being able to keep up with players. But some of it literally is that these are guys that are just not getting enough reps and seeing it that they're the right guys to be there, but they just need to get the playing reps now. And, and that's what I'm seeing. Like when some of these guys in there, like, Ransom and stuff like that, he doesn't look lost out there. He makes some angle mistakes and he makes some, maybe he takes, he needs to react a little bit quicker on a couple of things, but he's a lot closer to the ball than, I can't think of
Bryson Shaw.
Yeah, it's like he's not making that mistake, and just being juked off his ass, and
I still saw a couple of them last week. That's like how is Jacoby Cowan, the defensive end? If he's getting stuck on a running back out of the backfield, like that's not a good sign.
Oh. I don't know where stuff like that comes from. Like that's a coaching thing because that should be better if you're dropping your defensive end and stuff like that. Somebody else needs to, they're supposed to be dropping into a zone and not necessarily trying to cover somebody in man to man.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's just crazy.
But it's all going to come back to my biggest issue right now with the defense is what's Eichenburg doing out there?
I don't know. I mean, in no way, and I don't know how many snaps Cody Simon got, but I'm just assuming Eichenburg either had the most or second most snaps as a linebacker, and he didn't have any tackles. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
A middle linebacker at Ohio State. Like, that's not a thing.
Like Dallas Gant, he's transferring, and yeah, he didn't look the greatest his first game of the year, but he's only had 6 snaps for the last 2 weeks combined. And like, how was this guy playing like 40 snaps in a game, like or whatever it is, and
like 53?
And it's like he's always there, and I'm just like, my God, he's still in. It's third down. They have 10 yards to go. What's he doing in there?
Like, I know and that's, I mean, I got some concerns with that too. Obviously he's a part of their plans, and I don't know. It's just, I don't see why. Like, I think he's shown you enough on film and game that he's in the wrong spot. He goes to the wrong gaps. He lets himself get blocked. Like, he runs into his defensive linemen all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing. That's like, if you're going to be that style of middle linebacker and stuff like that, we've talked about, there's there's a long history of great middle linebackers that played at Ohio State. And, if you're going to be that middle linebacker, run through a freaking block. I mean, that is, at least be that dude.
Right. Blow the play up. Fine. Blow the play up though.
Yeah. And whatever. I don't know what this is. This is tough. There's tough Portland syndrome with the coaching staff. Like, they think tough is still there. Like, I don't know what it is.
If you're there to be a run stopper, stop the damn run.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
We're seeing too much of that with him. Like, when he goes the other way and then there's nobody in the middle, like except Bryson Shaw.
Yeah, because our run stopping middle linebacker isn't really stopping anything right now.
Yeah. All right, offense. So, like I said, the offense is actually concerned me a little bit more in this game. And one thing I really liked is that even though, like, there might be some sort of weird dynamic going on with the second running back. I like that they've come down to 2 running backs over the last couple of weeks. And I think we've talked about this. Henderson should be the starter. And I think he really proved that this week. He's powerful, just like the other guys are powerful, but he's just faster and a little shiftier. And, and I think that really showed. And I mean, he was just so dominant, but if it wasn't for him, I mean, what would this game have really looked like? I mean, because, offensively, they were just, they were blah. And again, it was like they just seemed like they're getting way more yards than they're not getting enough points to equal up to their yards like they were the previous week. At least that was against Oregon.
Yeah, I mean they were dropping 8 sometime in the zone because they were trying to stop Stroud. They were just letting them run on them. Tulsa letting Ohio State run on them. But yeah, I know it was like the one game your run game couldn't get going, but when you did start getting your run game going, you kind of gave up on it at the end. This game, the passing game just never really took off. I mean, it seemed like he was confused at times. He was obviously he had that overthrow to, is it Olave?
Yeah.
Which that actually, like, I know people replay it and it looks bad because Olave's, open, but there is an underneath and a above safety there. I mean, it is a harder window to try to fit that ball into. No excuses, the guy Olave is open, but it wasn't as easy of a throw as I think people are making it out to be.
And I know Day wants to get I know he wants to get Stroud going and stuff like that. But if you got a team, he didn't make the quick it kind of felt like even though you get 200 something yards, it kind of feels like Northwestern last year. It's like, if they're going to give you the ground yard game, just take it on the ground, man. Just pound it down their throats and just and if Trayvon Henderson breaks 6 freaking touchdown runs because, when he gets loose, he's gone, whatever. Like he gets up with 500 yards. So it's like great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that's been an issue sometimes is like, and as much as I think we all love Ryan Day for, his offensive creativeness, just sometimes, man, you just got to look what the defense is giving you. You don't always have to like figure out like, hey, you know what? I'm going to trick this guy. I'm going to impose my will however I want to. If a defense is going to say, hey, beat us running the ball, you're Ohio State. You can beat them running the ball. If someone if they want to give you that much space, Tulsa does, run all over them and continue to do so.
And they always look to the sidelines. If, I see you in a 3-3 and my quarterback looks to the sidelines, I'm changing the play to run. And like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. So I can't say I disagree with you on that. But yeah, I mean, take what they give you. If they're going to let you run for 600 yards, run for 600 yards. Who cares? I mean, you might end up leaving there. You're like 28-0 or 28-7 or something like that. But
I don't know at that point.
The hell?
I think that's probably even worse of a blowout because
that's true. You don't have a couple turnovers there, so.
And in the second half, I mean, they're not going to want to tackle that kid, try to tackle him anymore. They barely tackle him to begin with. Now,
are you concerned with any fumble issues?
Not yet. I mean,
because he put it on the ground twice. Ohio State got it back both times, I believe, but
they just need to beat into his head. Like, you make sure, especially when you get into a crowd, you cover that ball up.
Am I boring you tonight?
Oh, it's late, man. It's just like shit in a mode today. I'm telling you, it's just freaking 50-degree weather. It's
Does the
like,
Tulsa game bore you?
It was a boring game.
It really was, man. That was kind of hard to. And I know you and I were joking sometimes. I'm like, we're gonna lose to Tulsa. This is a touchdown game in the fourth quarter to Tulsa. Oh my god! Which was it?
I was really getting concerned there for a minute until they got those last 2 touchdowns. I'm just like,
not great.
I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen right now. This could be a mutiny. Ryan Day might want to make sure he doesn't like run into Gene at the end of this game because
I don't know if you ever come back from losing to Tulsa.
Yeah, it would be right up there. I mean, that would be the worst team loss I would have ever saw as a fan of Ohio State.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's like, these games, when you think about playing Tulsa and playing Akron, it's like, I'm just getting like so out of these games anymore. I guess maybe that's why I talk about the super conferences so much. And, I want to kind of change things up some. Is like, I just don't like playing these teams anymore. Like, I'm actually fine with playing Akron if Akron was, the one game on your schedule. At least you're throwing some money to a in-state school. If like the one thing I would, not to get on too much of a tangent, the one thing I would want from this alliance, man, if they could, between the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC, if they could get it down to where maybe they're playing 11 games against each other, and then you play your one non-conference game against Cupcake City, and Ohio State does a rotation of Akron, Kent, Miami of Ohio, and whoever else, Toledo, Bowling Green, and whatever. That's fine with me, but it's like I don't. You play Oregon, and then you got these 2 back-to-back weeks, and so.
Yeah, and I'm not sure Buckeye Nation wants to hear it or not. I don't know if you wanted to play a decent Power 5 school at this point.
Well, God, right now it doesn't seem like it, but who knows? Maybe they would have been able to bounce back a little easier.
Yeah, I think the defense. I think they did some things. There was definitely more series that, even though it is Tulsa, they were still in better position than what they were against Oregon. But then at the end of the game, I mean, these guys don't throw on anybody, and you let the guy throw for 300 something yards, whatever it was, 2 touchdowns. You give up 500 yards to Tulsa. So
yeah, no, I think right now, these kids that are coming up and they're showing themselves, let them play more. Some of those other kids we've talked about, cut down your rotation some and let these kids that are actually performing, now let them play and get Eichenburg out of there. That's literally probably the 3 things that I would say they would be in a good place. And they do. There was parts in that game where they started picking up the defensive line pressure, and it's like, okay, we're coming in this, and then there's like sleeping like I'm sleeping now, and it's like, it's like, what's going on? Like, you guys were just starting to get some pressure on it.
I'm kind of
put him on his butt.
I'm kind of scared this game we're going to see some of that, because I've seen that so many times from Ohio State at these later games when they play crap opponents, is like they just don't care after the first quarter. And I mean, that's the last thing anybody needs, even though if it's Akron, to look bad against Akron.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how Saban gets his guys to just like always. Everybody gets taken seriously. They have to be so scared of that little 5'6" little man,
absolutely,
the leprechaun. Like,
you don't see this stuff with him. Yeah, they have to be scared of him, because everybody. You're right. Like that. I mean, they play FCS school. They play probably 3 of them a year, and they beat them all 80-0. But then they go play, Missouri. They beat them 80-0. They play Georgia. They beat them 40-10. I mean, it's just like they kick everyone's ass. I don't know.
Yeah,
I do think they're going to drop a game this year, though.
Oh, I agree with that. There's all kinds of places where teams can drop games. I mean, I'm still not. We'll see what Georgia looks like against better teams. Florida could have beat them last week, Alabama, and so I agree with you on that one.
You know who I'm scared doesn't drop a game this year? Oregon. But their defense sucks. And that's
Well,
there's no reason we shouldn't have beat that team because their defense
yeah,
is garbage.
they'll drop
So's ours.
somewhere.
So's ours. Don't get me wrong. Our offense is better than their offense. We should have beat them.
They'll drop somewhere. I'm not too worried about that. So that's what I want to see on defense. So just on offense, man, just start scoring a little bit more. They're becoming a little too inconsistent, and and whether it's McCord rises to the challenge right now and takes this starting job, or Stroud ends up getting healthy and he ends up showing where the coaches obviously thought he was at, but they just need one of these guys to really take this team, because they should be scoring a lot more than they're scoring. And and if they can't do it, if none of these quarterbacks can do it right now, then go more into some sort of possession style offense. And because I've seen enough from CJ Stroud, and I would be interested to see this week that if they went into a more run, like a Cleveland Browns offense, if they have the ability just to run people down the throat. And Stroud is not that bad rolling out and where he can hit guys. I think he can be good at play action. He does fairly well in those crossing routes. He could be deadly if you're only going to do it 20 times a game with him because you're running the ball 50 times or whatever a game. And, and they need to start figuring that out over the next couple of weeks. So if one of these quarterbacks can't really separate themselves, then you got to kind of rethink stuff, because at the end of the year, I mean, right now you're still in the thick of things that, obviously Big Ten championship and, New Year's 6, Rose Bowl or whatever is in the cards. Then, the playoffs, I mean, there's a lot of football still to play. The playoffs are easily still in the cards. So
yeah,
so you got to show up, and, so they got to make that, they have to make this, they have to find these guys quick. And if they can't find it quick, then they got to maybe change some stuff up on offense a little bit more and let it be the Henderson and Mayan Williams show or Teague show or whatever. And, throw the third one in there when the other two need, just as, and run more of a play action style offense and a rollout offense, with the quarterback, and, go with that.
Yeah. How things are now. I mean, if you show up and you play great and you start figuring this out, I don't think you need any help to get into the playoffs. I truly don't. If you do what you're supposed to do and you win out, I don't think they need help. And I know, like, watching this team right now, it's just crazy to even think playoffs. So let's just say everything's in front of you. The only team that can stop you from winning the Big Ten, getting to the Rose Bowl, is yourself. But if they keep playing how they are playing right now, they are going to need help to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're going to need a team, they need a team to drop multiple games.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else for tonight that you want to throw out there? I think there's a lot of youth mistakes right now that I think that if you start shorting up letting these kids play, shorting your rotations up a little bit, outside where you need to have rotations, you still need to have defensive line rotations. But I think that they're fine. They just need to let some of these kids play now and make some of the kid mistakes that they need to make, and they will then they'll learn from them. And I think that's the one thing. It seems like it's just people get afraid of is just letting them learn from their kid mistakes. They're young players and they'll make the mistakes, and so just get them on the field, let them make those mistakes, and then they will learn from them. And if they don't learn from them, then then they can't play and you move them out of the rotation. But
I mean, there's still that one guy though that he's a kid and he's not even close to even being in the plays. So.
Oh, I've seen him make enough of his young mistakes that he's not learning from them. So he needs to go. Bye.
No, I mean, the only other things I would really want to go into is, I mean, do you think Ohio State wins by 7 or 8 touchdowns wherever they're at on the line right now?
I don't know why this game is even on the line. Like when I saw that there are like a 50-something, I'm like, how can you even bet on this game? Like, I thought when they usually a lot of times the casinos take these off the lines when they, when they're playing that high of no, I don't know. I'm like, I'll tell you this, like, and I'm not a gambler, and sometimes I do some gambling. I would never bet this game. Like, it just it's just ripe for them. Like, literally, if you beat them by 50, you lose.
Right, yeah, exactly. I think it has come down that it's like 47 or something now,
Okay,
but
let's
exactly, like, you could beat these guys by 49 points and you lose, so
yeah. So like, be like, wow, yeah, we just beat them by 50 points. Oh, I'm out of $50.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, stay far away from that action. Uh, I I mean, defense, I guess I gotta say the same thing as Tulsa for last week, start looking like you're starting to learn things, be better, be in position. I know it did look better at some points. We didn't keep Tulsa from their averages. That's what I said. I wanted, keep them under their season averages. So again, keep Akron under its season averages. You should, your Ohio State, like show that, you're learning your defense. And like you said, for offense, be more consistent. I'm looking for Mccord and Henderson both to have big games this week.
start start scoring, man. Just get the ball into the end zone more than you are.
Get some damn
Um,
sacks too on
yeah,
defense. Get some sacks.
yeah,
Put the quarterback down. Get just your Larry Johnson's defensive line. Come on now.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. That no, I'm good. I'm not giving a score again like last week. I mean, it's Akron. So
yeah. We'll
well,
be back into giving scores next week as we get back into Big Ten play. I think a lot of this game will start really making me, the month of October could be a very interesting month. These aren't even where you thought maybe Maryland and Rutgers was more of a walkthrough games. I don't think they will be as much as the walkthrough games. I think we can still beat them, but you know,
I hope to God we can still be.
I mean, I shouldn't phrase it like that. We're gonna still beat them. It's just, they could look really bad in those games though defensively then to where you were like, man, like Indiana at that point at Penn State, and Penn State's looking really, really good. And like that's at that point, those games start looking like threat games to you. I mean, Indiana's got players, and and like I said, Penn State's looking really good right now. And they look like they're the team that has the attitude right now in the conference. So so
I mean, people are starting to talk about Ohio State, and like, Michigan State's look good, especially running the ball. People are starting to talk about Ohio State like there's some middle of the pack team in the conference and the Big Ten East, and I mean that crap can't fly. Like it's
not with what they've recruited. That's you gotta, and I get it that they have a lot of young guys, and you did get to play last year, but they got to start coming out of this. Like,
yeah,
and so yeah, they just need to. They need to look like against Akron. You talking about scoring? I don't know. I don't need them to score beat them by 7 to 8 touchdowns. But what we do need them, they need to score 40 plus, and they really need to hold these guys below 14. Like, I think if they do that, then that's where they should be against Akron. And right now, and then start looking like they're making progress in the position groups where they start needing to make progress. If there's not guys running as free as there was, if they're actually putting points on the board, if the quarterback is hitting the receivers, if they're actually putting some pressure on their quarterback, and they can get after these guys, yeah, they should beat them pretty easily. And I don't see where Akron should be able to score above 14 points on them. I mean, it's a mismatch all over the field, and that's not a joke or anything out of
oh right, yeah,
saying anything out of the ordinary. I'm not trying to disrespect Akron, but they don't got this anywhere near the same guys as Ohio State did. I mean, neither does Tulsa, and Akron's got to be below that. And I mean, Tulsa plays. Conference USA is a much better conference than, or not Conference USA. The American's a much better conference than the MAC. So there's actually some good players, middle of the round players that are making it into the American, where you're not getting that in the MAC.
especially not at Akron.
Yeah, so they should beat these guys fairly simple, and it should be a plus 40 to a below 14. And I'm sorry, and maybe if they sneak one in at the end of the game on garbage time, maybe I'll forgive that one. But like, if this game is 45 5 to
30.
28, I got some concerns.
Yeah. Yep. Or the concerns keep growing for sure. So
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get on out of there with that.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for stopping in tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
OH.
IO.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Buckeye Bar Guys on Buckeye Bar Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that all notifications bell so you see when new content is added. And please remember to like and share so we can grow our audience. Don't be afraid to comment. We want to know what you're thinking and we want to know what content to add for you guys. OH.
IO.